Hello. I'm glad so many of you came back from lunch. My job is to make sure that you don't regret that decision and to make you kind of feel better than everybody who chose to leave. So let's try to make you smarter than them now for the next little bit. I'm here to talk about digital disruption. It does happen to be the title of a book I recently published, and yes, that book does have a carbon-based edition. There is a reason for that, and I'll explain it here in a minute. I want to tell you what digital disruption does to and or for you, depending on how you respond to it. And I've been actually working with this industry for many, many years and have been here during those years when we might have thought, I'm not so sure you're ready to do this. So I'm happy to be here today and hear so many people talking about how they are doing what I'm about to talk about, at least the first part. Let me explain. I want to introduce something big. Something big is happening. You know it, you're part of it, but let's just clarify it for one moment. I'm talking about the fact that there are now more than 50 million Kindles in the world. I'm talking about the fact that Apple announced that they now have sold over 120 million iPads for a product that has only been out for two years and 9 months. That's not so bad. Even Microsoft is participating in this. And I'm talking about the Kinect for Xbox, which isn't quite to 30 million yet. My estimate's a little high. I was just in Seattle yesterday, and they told me it's a little high. But the fact that Microsoft is even in the tens of millions of anything new and radical and changing of the consumer marketing experience, okay, you get what I'm saying. Something bigger than just Apple is happening here. Now, I'd like to illustrate that it's bigger than just Apple by showing Apple as an example, because remember, we live on the same planet where it took Apple 2 years to sell 1 million iPods. If we go to the 2-year mark for the iPad is 80 times more successful than the iPod. That's a really important thing to grok, because it's actually not the power of Apple. It's not even the power of tablets, and we've spent a lot of time talking about tablets as well as mobile here today, but it's not the device that I'm here to tell you is changing your industry. No, it's something bigger than that. If something big is happening here, I'm going to tell you that it's digital disruption is what's happening. Now, it's a big topic, and I've got 11 minutes and 32 seconds to tell you about it. But in those minutes, what I'll do is summarize this big topic with a simple sentence. The sentence is this: when companies adopt technology, they do old things in new ways. When companies internalize technology, they find disruptive new things to do. John Laughlin was just up here a couple hours ago. Well, he was over there, very professional. I still like us, a lot of you in this industry are very professional. I'm sorry I'm not that professional. I'm just going to roam around on the stage. He was up here and he said the right thing. He said, it's okay that we're taking print magazines and putting them into the iPad in a kind of magazine-like experience. He said, that's not a bad thing. And I agree 100%. Because disruption is not actually about replacing things. It's about expanding them. And I even heard earlier, in one of the presentations earlier this morning, about somebody saying a small digital change, like, you know what, we don't use film and still cameras anymore, we just use digital SLRs that can do both. That's a small digital change, but it's one that expands the possibilities, reduces the cost, and allows you to provide a better experience for your reader. Digital disruption is about internalizing technology so much that you make all these little changes inside of your business, inside of your process, as well as your product. And the result of that massive amount of change, all of it done at lower cost, as Sam just suggested you're going to have to do, that's how companies become digital disruptors, through that internalization of technology. Now, what does it mean to be a digital disruptor? Digital disruptors are, well, basically they're going to do this to you if you don't do it to yourself. They're going to be better, stronger, and faster. And yes, that is a nod to the Bionic Man for those few of you who noticed. The better and stronger and faster, though, in what particular way? These people will build better media experiences. And I use the word experience instead of product for a reason, because remember, I'm talking about expanding, not just reshaping. Those better media experiences will create stronger customer relationships. We've talked about that several times today as well. Customer relationships where you have direct measurement, where you can see what they're responding to, what they're paying for, what they're not, what they're sharing, what they're not. But they'll do all of this faster. That is because they're enabled by digital tools, digital platforms, things that I won't go into in the time that I've got here, but I want to illustrate some of this for you briefly. Let me first explain how you become better, stronger, faster, so that you can do this too. First, recognize that under digital disruption, we're talking about a change in disruption itself. It turns out that disruption has been disrupted. Because under old disruption, very, very few people could amass the tremendous amount of capital necessary to bring what are ultimately a small number of ideas, sort of cliche represented here as light bulbs, but a small number of light bulbs. You have been in an industry where there was a small number of really big ideas. And as a beneficiary of those magazines growing up, I thank you for that. And it's not that it was wrong to sit there and bask in the power of monopoly position in the market because you were one of the few people that had the financial backing to put out this magazine and distribute it across the country or across the world. No, it's not wrong to do that. In fact, there was no other choice under old disruption. But under digital disruption, there is also no other choice but to see how it changes. That there are now many, many more people, each of them coming to the market of ideas, spending significantly less per idea to bring their ideas to market. And as a result, we have more ideas coming to market. Some of them are teeny tiny, like a blog. Some of them are really huge, like Facebook. But the net result is more ideas. Some of them that are obviously direct competitors to you or direct partners with you, and some that you don't realize you're competing with until perhaps it's too late. If I had to invent some math to represent this, I would say we're talking about at least 10 times the number of innovators, each of them operating at least 1/10 the cost, probably significantly less. Multiply that together and bear with the made-up math, we're really talking about 100 times the idea power. Not just coming from you, your colleagues, and your direct competitors, the online-onlys, the bloggers, but actually from completely different quarters. And I want to illustrate what that might look like. This is one of my favorite examples of digital disruption. And the first you're going to say, what in the world does this have to do with us? You'll see. I'm talking about the magic mirror, not a particularly creative name, I'll grant you. But imagine that it's Friday night and this young lady would like to go out on a date with Carl. First date. I don't know if Carl would be the name of someone she would go out with, but let's imagine it is. What does she need in that moment? Well, in the work that I do on digital disruption, there's a whole chapter on it in the book, we talk about how to anticipate the next thing she needs. Well, imagine that if you're in the health and beauty category, some of you are, because you make magazines in that category. Okay, imagine that you're in the health and beauty category. It's really too late to influence her behavior, to extend a digital customer relationship into the bathroom, right? Think about a very analog place. The bathroom sort of qualifies. But let's imagine that that is not a mirror. It's a display. And by saying magic mirror, she calls up an app, and the app takes a digital still of her, and by some combination of voice or gesture or even touch, she can then go in and try the smoky eye effect, or what's the super really popular cat eye kind of thing that everybody's getting back into now? I gotta admit, I like it. But let's say that she tries all these looks out, she finds one she's really interested, or a couple of them she's interested in. My Photoshop skills are terrible, so I'm just going to put a different picture up there. But imagine that the computer actually can say, here's what you would look like. What does she need next? Well, the next thing she needs is to check with a friend. She needs some social validation, so she's going to call Carrie. She'll push the picture to Carrie's phone. Carrie's going to be out and about and say, oh, look, that's a great look. Yeah, Carl will totally be impressed. Or, girl, don't even think it. Whatever the case might be, that mirror has now given her an incredibly amplified health and beauty experience. Now, I want you to ask yourself this question. For what companies is this bathroom mirror an adjacent possibility? Maybe the easier question is, for whom is it not? Because think of it this way. Start with, let's just say, cosmetics makers. The people that were paying for full-page glossies in your magazines, if you're 17 or Marie Claire or even Ladies' Home Journal. And you are taking Clairol and Revlon and L'Oreal. Aren't you impressed that I even know the names of a couple of these companies? I've had to study it up, to be honest. L'Oreal was at CES this year, the Consumer Electronics Show in January in Las Vegas, where it's just full of nerds. The global CMO was there. Why? It was promoting an Xbox app. A direct relationship with the customer. Sure, the glossy ads, they're still going to do that, but now they're going to do that together with this other thing. They're expanding their reach and access to the market with digital tools. Now, let's go down the list. Obviously, magazine publishers, anybody who's in the media business, television, anybody who's trying to do anything related to health and beauty on the reality show side or on the home garden television side, whatever it is. These are all people who want to be in that mirror as well. But don't forget that also in that mirror, we're going to see people like Amazon. Wouldn't Amazon want to sell everything that she would buy as a result of what that mirror would do? Okay, I started by saying that we're not actually here to replace a product with a new product. We're going to expand. And I'm not suggesting to you that magazines are going to disappear because every room in the house will have some kind of equivalent of this experience, although every room in the house will have some kind of equivalent of this experience at some point. In fact, we don't even have to wait for the mirror to be invented. I gave a speech, I talked about this example. A woman came up to me afterwards and said, "You just described the last 6 months of my life. I work at Sephora. We have started to make this app." Now, they're not waiting for a mirror to be built. They're doing the next thing they can do, their next adjacent possibility, which is, let's use the iPad. It has a camera in it. It can sit on your counter, and you can actually get direct feedback on your look through the app. So they've already built it. They've released it. Now they're expanding it. Pretty soon, they'll probably have an experience like this. Whether it's built into the mirror or not probably doesn't matter. So what's happening is the expansion of everybody's business. And as everybody's business expands, you are going to end up overlapping with pretty much all of them. The upshot of this is going to be, well, some lessons that you want to be thinking about. First of all, I'm here to tell you that if anybody can digitally disrupt because they're so cheap now, so can you. Now, I'm not saying that the digital initiative you currently have funded or spec'd out is cheap, but trust me, go back 3 years, your first iPad efforts, to today, your budgets have gotten smaller for the same amount of product. Now, your ambitions have gotten bigger, too. That's also good. We're expanding. I'm here to tell you, don't worry about trying to replace your current experience. What's the next thing to replace magazines? Don't replace, expand. Reach your magazine content into the bathroom, just to make that really ludicrous-sounding statement, but make it really clear that you need to expand the number of minutes a day that you're touching someone, the number of opportunities in people's lives that you're interacting with someone, to build a direct relationship with the customer, because you can bet L'Oreal wants to build it. You can bet Amazon already has it. You can bet the Sephora already has it. Google is probably going to want to make that mirror too, to be honest. That relationship and that multiple overlapping relationship that we are starting to get comfortable with, where we first said, wait a minute, Apple wants the relationship, but it's our subscriber. Now we're just in a world where everybody has multiple overlapping, entangling relationships. And in the end, the customer gets more of what they want. To get there quickly, you're going to have to partner promiscuously. And I've watched this happen over the last few years, and I've been happy. There was a time when you sort of protected the virginity of your content and wouldn't let anybody get close to it, and now you're more comfortable. We saw Flipboard up on stage here. Did you notice? And nobody threw anything. A couple of years ago, that would not have happened. And it's not because Flipboard's the answer or the replacement. It's because Flipboard's an expansion. All right, can you really do this? We're actually, and in chapter 8 of my book, I do a detailed analysis of some data that I'll show you very quickly in the 15 seconds I have left, about what it takes to be a digital disruptor: energy, skills, and policy. Let me just leave you with this graphic. 89% of people think that digital is going to happen. 65% of them are excited about it. 38% say they have the skills they need in their company to make digital disruption happen. And only 32% say they have the policies and practices in place to adapt to digital. So it's not because you're not excited. It's not because you don't believe. It's because you need to change the policies. I have a whole bunch of thoughts about what those policies might look like, but I am now out of time. I thank you very much, and I leave you with the image of the book cover. If you buy it and enjoy it, thank you very much.